Someone told you early in your career that leaders are loud, they're charismatic, always in the room, always talking. And you looked at that description and quietly thought, well, that's not me. So you stopped yourself from raising your hand for leadership opportunities. You told yourself you'd be ready when you were more confident, more polished, more comfortable in the spotlight. Well, today we're going to talk about why. And more importantly, we're going to talk about why nobody ever told you this. Welcome to the Drew Chaz Podcast. This is the show for introverts who think deeply, do good work, and feel overlooked because, let's face it, the world rewards loud, fast behavior. I help the irresistible introvert understand how their mind works, stop second guessing themselves, and place their quiet authority where it finally gets noticed. Welcome to the Drew Chaz Podcast. I'm Drew, and this episode is a little different from our recent series. Episode 13, 14, and 15 were all about strategy, frameworks, maps, and systems for getting seen at work. Well, today is about identity, because before any framework works, you have to believe you belong in the room those frameworks get you into, right? But here's what the research actually does, and what the most effective organizations are finally starting to admit is that introverts don't just make good leaders. In many environments, they make better ones. And today I want to make the case clearly, directly, and with real evidence that you don't just belong there. So what you'll walk away with is, first, the research on introvert leadership. Real studies, real data, not just reassurance. Second, you're going to get 5 specific leadership traits that introverts carry naturally and that organizations desperately need right now. And third, why the loudest person in the room is rarely the most effective leader, and what actually moves teams forward. So think about the leaders you've been told to admire throughout your career. How were they described? Bold, right? Decisive, commanding, charismatic, always on. Now think about what those words actually mean in the meeting room. They mean loud, they mean quick, they mean comfortable with attention. But if that's not you, if you think before you speak, if you process deeply, if you'd rather listen than perform, you were quietly told that leadership wasn't really for you. I was told that early in my career. I was told that I would never make it up because I wasn't loud enough or mean enough, or I just wasn't putting myself in a position where I could be that supposed leader. Well, I changed everything when I decided I was going to do it the right way, my way, because I'm not going to change who I am just so that I could get a promotion. I want to get it the way I should naturally. Because leadership isn't performance, it's not volume, it's not the ability to command a room with your presence. Leadership is the ability to make good decisions, develop the people around you, and move a team towards a goal. And on every one of those measures, introverts actually have a natural edge. And I'll tell you why. Because we have these traits. Trait number 1 is deep listening. Introverts listen to understand, not to respond, right? The distinction is enormous in leadership. When a team member comes to you with a problem, the introvert leader actually hears what's being said. They catch the thing beneath the thing. They notice what's not being said. That makes people feel genuinely heard, which is the foundation of trust. And trust basically is what makes teams perform. Well, that old story is just wrong, and it was built on a very narrow definition of what leadership actually is. Things have changed, my friends. It's our world now, and people better get ready for it. Introverted leaders consistently outperform extroverted leaders when managing proactive teams. Teams where people bring their own ideas and initiative. And why is that? Because the introvert listens to those ideas instead of just talking over them. Second trait I want to talk about is thoughtful decision making. Introverts don't make decisions quickly, they make them well. In environments that reward fast, confident, sounding answers, this looks like hesitation. But you know what? In environments that actually measure outcomes, the difference is stark. The introvert who takes 3 days to make a decision and gets it right is more valuable than the extrovert who makes it in 3 minutes and has to walk it back. Organizations say they want decisive leaders, right? But what they actually need are accurate ones. Trait number 3 is the ability to develop other people. Introverted leaders are not focused on being the smartest person in the room. We're focused on understanding the problem, that orientation away from self display and towards the work. It creates space for other people to contribute. The loudest leader in the room, often without meaning to, just shuts down the room. The quieter leader creates conditions where everyone else can think. Because what are we good at? Thinking, right? But that's not a weakness. That's the most valuable thing a leader can do. Trait number 4 is being calm under pressure. Introverts don't need external stimulation to feel confident. We're self contained in a way that serves teams enormously during crisis. When things go wrong, and in any organization, things do go wrong, right? The introvert leader doesn't escalate the panic. They slow down, they think, they become the steadiest person in the room and the most consistent. That calmness is contagious and it regulates the entire team. In moments of uncertainty, the team that stays calm makes better decisions than the team that doesn't. So, trait number 5 is preparation as a superpower. Introverts over prepare. Let's face it. We've been told our whole careers and maybe even our whole life that this is inefficient, that it's perfectionism, that we should just go. In leadership, over preparing is a competitive advantage. The introvert walks into the board presentation having thought about and thought through every objection. They've considered the counter arguments. They know the data better than anyone else in the room. That preparation reads as authority. It reads as mastery because that's exactly what it is. So I guess you're asking yourself, well, why didn't anyone tell you this earlier? And I used to think that myself because I was just told that I had a flaw, that I was quiet. I was the quiet one and I was shy and all this BS. I was just in my head going, what the heck's wrong with these people? But why didn't they tell you this earlier? It's because the organizations that built our corporate cultures were built by extroverts for extroverts. And what does that look like? Open office plans, brainstorming sessions, mandatory team bonding, back-to-back meetings, the expectation that presence equals value. All of it optimized for people who get energy from external stimulation, and all of it quietly penalized people who don't, like us. But you know what? That's changing slowly, but it's changing. Remote and hybrid work revealed something organizations could not unsee. The quiet person on the video call who sent the thoughtful follow-up email and delivered the clearest analysis, they were often the one actually moving the work forward. So the question for you is not whether you're capable of leading. The question is whether you're willing to stop disqualifying yourself before anyone else gets the chance to. So I'm going to give you a quick challenge for this week. You know your authority pattern from the quiz that you've been taking. And if you haven't, go to drewchaz.com/quiz and make sure you take that superpower quiz. It'll give you so many answers about yourself. Well, you have your 5 people that we've been talking about in the past couple of weeks. You have the quiet voice framework for when you're in the room. And the only thing left is the decision to believe you belong there. So a quick deep dive into this is that leadership traits most celebrated in corporate settings are boldness, charisma, command presence, and they're all stylistic. They're not the traits that actually drive team performance, decision quality, or organizational trust. The traits that do: deep listening, careful decision making, developing others, calm under pressure, and thorough preparation. Those are traits introverts carry naturally. It was never that introverts couldn't lead, it was that the environment was designed to make them invisible. And how many times did you feel invisible? I know I felt like nobody saw me or heard me for years. And then conclude that invisibility, that they weren't leadership material. Well, this week, identify one leadership moment you've been wanting to step into and step into it. Not loudly, strategically. Use everything from episode 13 through 15 to do it. So if you haven't heard those episodes, make sure you go back and listen to them, because it's a whole framework that leads to this episode 16. Because you weren't built wrong for leadership, you were measured by the wrong ruler. So the leadership traits introverts have naturally are exactly what effective organizations need. Deep listening builds the trust that makes teams perform. So creating space for others to contribute is leadership, not a sign that you're stepping back. Calm under pressure regulates the entire team. And preparation is authority. It always has been. So in conclusion, you're not waiting to become a leader. You're already one. You've just been measuring yourself against a definition that was never built for you. And if you haven't taken that free quiet superpower quiz, I really recommend it. That's step 1. Again, it's drewchaz.com/quiz. It shows you exactly how your authority moves and where you hold back. Again, drewchaz.com/quiz. Listen, if this episode helped you see yourself more clearly, please follow or subscribe to the Drew Chaz Podcast. Leaving a review helps other introverts just find my show, and sharing this episode helps someone else feel less alone in their thinking. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. And remember, your analytical mind isn't holding you back. It's the greatest asset when you know how to use it. So keep thinking deeply, keep moving forward, and most of all, you be you.